Racing to the 2023 Kentucky Derby, and this time it's time for an update. On Friday, April the 21st, we've been taking a look at the Contenders all week. A big day of workouts over the Churchill Downs strip. The big board includes, we're going to take a look at Rocket Can, how he's gotten to the Kentucky Derby, of course winning the Holy Bull Stakes and running in the Arkansas Derby. Going to take a deep dive into Tapit Trice. We're going to look at all 5 of his career starts. Look at his starts. He is very slow out of the gate. And Forte and Tapit Trice work on Friday morning, along with many of the Brad Cox runners. Let's start off with workouts on a Friday morning. Nice weather. Angel of Empire goes 6 furlongs in 1:13 and 4 with the gallop out, and worked outside of Jace's Road. Hit Show, 48 and 6, his first official workout since the Wood Memorial Stakes a couple of weeks ago when he got second place. And then Verifying bounced out of his bluegrass. He had his first work, 48.6, as he goes in company with Hit Show over the Churchill Downs surface. And overall, when you look at Forte, he goes 5 furlongs officially in 1:02. He was outside a workmate, Bright Future, who's a nice older horse, and he may be running in the Ali Sheba Stakes. A gallop out in 1:27 for Forte. Really like the way he kind of attacked that finish line at the end of that workout. Tapit Trice, controlled workout, 48.6 for 4 furlongs. He's another one that had another gallop out of 6 furlongs in 1:13 and change for Tapit Trice. Meanwhile, talked yesterday about Confidence Game. You know, one of the stats you're going to hear is that Confidence Game is going to be the first horse to attempt to win the Kentucky Derby off a 70-day layoff. So the longest layoffs to win the Kentucky Derby in the COVID year, Authentic won it off a 49-day layoff. That was kind of an unusual year for the spacing of the races. Meanwhile, Animal Kingdom with 42 days off a layoff, and then Always Dreaming and Rich Strike winning last year off a 35-day layoff. Now, with the advent of the Point Series a couple of years ago, in the past, horses could get in based on earnings. So they would get graded stakes earnings. There really hasn't been that many horses that have attempted to win off a long layoff. So I'm not sure that stat really means anything. Since 2000, Homeboy Chris went into the Kentucky Derby off a 63-day layoff. He lost by 54 lengths. Frisian Fire was bet down actually as one of the favorites for the Cowboy Larry Jones, a 49-day layoff in 2009. He lost by 42 lengths. He had some trip trouble. Read the Footnotes, a 48-day layoff in 2004. He lost by 15 lengths. But really the key takeaway here, it's not really the days away. I think that's probably not a positive sign for Confidence Game, but only 3 horses since 2000 have even attempted a longer layoff, and the Point Series was kind of put into the place after Homeboy Chris went into the Derby off a 63-day layoff. They're trying to get horses that can compete and get the most competitive race. Now, Rocket Can is one of the contenders for this year's Kentucky Derby, trained by Bill Mott. He comes in with 7 lifetime starts. He won the Holy Bull. His sire is perennial top sire Into Mischief. Let's take a look at his maiden breaker, which is a promising win at Churchill Downs. I always like it when a horse gets a win over the Churchill Downs surface if you're into the horse for course. It was on a sloppy track. Of course, goes into the turn. He's the gray near the leaders. Gets a little bit of a push from an outside horse and an inside horse, but Rocket Can goes on to the big victory at Churchill Downs. Then another impressive win was in the Holy Bull, a wide move going 4 wide down the backstretch. You see the pan shot here as Holy Bull is on the outside. He's the gray horse, had a wide post that day. 4 wide move. Goes on to win, defeats his stablemate Shadow Dragon. A disappointing effort in that race from Cyclone Mischief, who was the favorite. And then you go into the Arkansas Derby, switches from Florida, Gulfstream Park, into Oaklawn Park. You know, he was sitting in a good spot mid-pack on the outside and just was out-kicked. Angel of Empire blew right by him. He was actually behind him, went right around him, picked up the victory. Maybe a little bit of a shipping type angle here for Rocket Can. He'll get a month to train over the Churchill Downs surface. But he does seem to me that he's tailing off a little bit. His Holy Bull was a strong effort, a little bit tailed off a little bit in the Florida Derby, and then regressed a little bit in the Arkansas Derby. He's by Into Mischief. Junior Alvarado is Bill Mott's go-to rider, and he does have a win at Churchill Downs. Some of the positive things for Rocket Can. Now, Tapit Trice, you know, this horse is talked about with some slow starts, but I really dug into his starts here, and we're going to watch the video. He just has no early speed. He's just kind of a big, lumbering horse early on, and we're going to show that here. I think you really got to see all 5 of his races together. He's got to be pushed along to just get into the race, but once he gets into the race, he can run all day. Here's his debut. He showed no speed. His second speed was no speed. And let's start off with his debut at Aqueduct. Again, starts off dead last, starts to make up ground, but he lost his debut race and just no gate speed in a second lifetime start. Immediately goes to the back of the pack after breaking actually clean. He's not like a horse isn't bumping him out of the gate. A horse isn't coming over in front of him. He just has no early speed early on in his races. You go to the Florida Derby, Gulfstream Park, again, just out of the gate slow, and then immediately Luis Saez brings him to the outside to get him involved in the race, but he's really being pushed on here early on in this race. Start number 4 at Tampa Bay. This was probably the only, what I would call a slow start in his race. In addition to just not having any early speed, he just breaks behind the field, and then he has to make up ground. An outstanding performance, getting the job done in the final strides. Then in his 5th race in the Bluegrass, again, he just has no speed. If he went to had the rail, he would have lost ground, but he was able to save ground. Again, nobody really bothered him early on. He's just being pushed by Luis Saez. So no speed for Tapit Trice. And my biggest fear here is he probably could be 18th or 19th place early in the Kentucky Derby. He's going to have to pass a lot of horses. And with 5 races, I just see no signs of this changing unless he really gets a vigorous warm-up in the Kentucky Derby. And if you get some fast fractions, he could possibly be 17, 18 lengths behind. Now, he does have the ability to pass horses. He can get involved with Luis Saez, who seems to have chosen him and really seems to work him early on. But that is just something to look about with Tapit Trice. Remember, post positions will be drawn on May 1st for the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks. And we've got some videos up. We've got a look at Confidence Game on Thursday. We took a look at top speed figures last weekend. Sun Thunder highlighted on April 19th. A couple of live streams coming up. Me and the Derby Bandit will go at it on May 4th. That's a Thursday night, 7 o'clock Central. And then joined by Jessica Tugwell to go over the Kentucky Derby pedigrees. That'll be on Friday, April 28th, a week from tonight. If you can't hit the live streams live, make sure to watch the replays. I will be planning out a couple of more live streams as we get you ready. What do you think of Rocket Can in the Kentucky Derby and Tapit Trice? Can he show any speed for the Kentucky Derby? Remember, D. Wayne Lucas says, people have opinions, horses have the facts.